Welcome into BSR Postgame Live. I am Scott Magnus from Bird's Eye View, and I'm here with Matt Lund from Baltimore Sports Report as well. Matt, thanks for having us on. Thanks for coming on tonight, I should say.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for having me. Another tough, close game, Orioles and Yankees. 15 of the last 23 now between the Orioles and the Yankees, decided by 2 or fewer runs. So, it comes down again to one of those one-run games, and here we are on the loss column tonight.
Yeah, it's really nice, must be, for the Yankees to have, Betances and Miller again anchoring that bullpen. When Miller was signed, we knew that bullpen was going to be great. But like you pointed out, having it be so close with these O's and Yankees games and having them playing so much, the Yankees obviously thought that by solidifying the back end of their bullpen, similar to what the Orioles have done for the past few years, would be a monumental help. And so far, it's paying dividends for them in terms of wins in the American League East.
Yeah, it's gone beyond dividends for them, really. Both guys have not allowed an earned run so far this season, so mighty impressive out of the back end for the Yanks.
So what we're going to do is we're going to run through a quick review of the box score and just pick out a few things. I think the one thing I wanted to point out was the obvious issue that a lot of people had on Twitter tonight, which was Chris Davis, again with a golden sombrero, 4 strikeouts tonight. The question is Chris Davis ever going to get back to having some production at the plate? Or are we going to constantly see these multi-strikeout games as we continue throughout the season?
Yeah, it's a question you have to ask. I mean, we've seen it the last couple of seasons. Chris has tinkered with the swing at times. I mean, he's had a lot of work in the cage, BP, things to try to fine tune the swing, and he's gotten it to a point where he can do it. But then there's games like this that baffle you, that frustrate you. Like you mentioned before we came on, Scott, he'll whiff at a breaking ball that's basically in his wheelhouse. And you're baffled as to how that happens, or he'll look at a fastball down the middle. So it is frustrating, but I guess at this point you have to take it for what it is. Davis will hit you home runs, but he's also going to strike out a lot. Third time already this season, and he's had 4 strikeouts in a game. So hopefully at some point he can get things ironed out, because the Orioles need him productive in that middle of the order.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's go through some highlights of the game and some lowlights of the game. Matt, what was your highlight for the game?
For me, the highlight of the game is Caleb Joseph's night. Fifth multi-hit game this season, his 3rd home run of the year. He's getting it done with the bat, Scott, hitting over 300 right now. I know that he's probably not going to hit 300 this season. I think we can be realistic and take the orange shades off about that. But, if he can hit 260, 270 this season, it's going to create some good problems, as Buck Showalter likes to say, with keeping Caleb's bat in the lineup. And he is very impressive against the Yankees this season.
Totally agree. And our good friends over at Cannon had posted a tweet after Caleb Joseph's double. Like you said, Caleb Joseph is batting .304. He's got an on-base percentage of .400 and a slugging percentage of .507. So anyone that's posting an OPS of .907 as a potential backup catcher in the previous years, Caleb Joseph is on fire right now, and he is, he's just doing amazing things. He came up and, we were hoping that he could fill a void last year, and now there are people talking about saying Matt Wieters who, and that's a really strange feeling to have as an Orioles fan.
It really is, and it could, be easier for the Orioles to make a decision if Caleb somehow can continue to hit the ball the way he's hitting, because we know what he brings to the table defensively, his ability to handle the pitching staff, call games. He does it all defensively, and now to see that bat come around is definitely a positive.
Not to mention, too, working with the pitchers last year with that framing, pitchers for the Baltimore Orioles were one of the top rotations in Major League Baseball during the second half of the season. I think we're seeing some encouraging signs for the past week, and I know we've had 2 bad games from the starting pitching in a row, but I think that's more just of control and command of the breaking ball with Jimenez and Tillman, and we'll get into that a little bit later. I'd like to go through my highlight of the game, and it's the obvious one. It's got to be A-Rod passing Willie Mays into 4th place all-time with 661 home runs. Isn't that right, Matt? It has to be A-Rod.
It has to be, and you're definitely playing the heel role right now for all you wrestling fans out there. Scott is the heel right now.
Yeah.
He is the guy with the championship belt ready to hit you over the head with it. it is what it is. It was going to happen at some point. A-Rod, it was inevitable that he was going to get past Willie Mays. Part of you doesn't want to see it, but it is also kind of cool to see history being made. A-Rod's fourth all-time now, and it sucks to see the kid slide down the home run ranks there, Scott.
It does stink to a certain regard, but it is nice seeing, another moment in history. It just kind of stinks to see your team and the Yankees always embedded with history. With Jeter's last game, Jeter actually also went into number one place for hits for the Yankees against Chris Tillman as well. So there's a lot of ingrained Orioles-Yankees moments in terms of Yankees lore. So that's my highlight from a baseball standpoint. Is it's still pretty cool to see someone moving to fourth place of all time for such an age-long game. Low lights of the night, I'm going to have to go to Chris Tillman. Giving up leads throughout the game. He gave up a lead during the first inning, the third inning, and the fifth inning. As a so-called labeled ace or the number one starter in this rotation, you really want someone that's basically settle down after you tie a game up or you take a lead. And Chris Tillman hasn't been able to do that tonight. A lot of issues with command, but Chris Tillman definitely is my low light for tonight. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go the same here, Scott. The Orioles offense, while they weren't spectacular, they fought their way back in this game to tie twice, 2-2 and then 3-3. And the subsequent inning, Tillman allowed the Yankees to take the lead again. It's not what you want to see from your ace starter, ace of the pitching staff. And right now, Tillman is just not impressing me. It seems very finite with his pitching. And instead of almost attacking these hitters, it's the complete opposite at times for me, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been, thoroughly impressed by Tillman, but at the same point, I think that he's shown very good command. I think tonight was just a situation where his breaking ball was off to a certain regard, and that, when he doesn't have those extreme velocities, and he was right around 91 miles per hour. We know what happens when Tillman's fastball velocity is below 92 miles per hour. He normally gets hit pretty hard. And tonight was a key situation of that, where there were a lot of line drives hit up for Tillman because his fastball velocity wasn't able to basically fool batters. So, let's get into the game notes. Let's go through the offense, the defense, and pitching. And our game notes, of course, has to be brought to you by Bird's Eye Views Drink a Week. I'm drinking a Dogfish Head Namaste tonight. Matt, what are you drinking tonight to refresh your palate during this post-game show?
You are not going to like me, but I just got water right now. I had a nice dinner earlier, a little chicken marsala with some wine. So at least I had something alcoholic before the post-game live show. But right now, just water. Sorry, guys. That's what I got.
Allow it. I'll drink for you in your place. So let's go into the offense really quickly. And I want to talk about the beginning of the lineup with Manny Machado. Manny Machado is really impressing me so far in this leadoff position. I'd like to talk about his first at-bat, where he basically allowed pitches to be seen. Sure, he had a ground out, but that allowed Paredes to basically get set up and basically work the count as well and get that home run during the first inning. I was also really impressed with him working the count the next time he came up and drawing a walk. I see really good things from Manny Machado. In fact, there's a great article on Fangraphs by Jeff Sullivan, friend of the program from Bird's Eye View, and he talks about how Manny is tailoring his approach differently at the plate recently as a leadoff hitter. I think it's a really interesting thing going forward, and Manny Machado could be the leadoff hitter that the Orioles need throughout the rest of this year.
Sure, and I think he's kind of resculpted his game, sort of kind of how you mentioned, Scott. And I think he's comfortable pretty much hitting everywhere. He can hit second, but it's nice to see him hit first in the lineup. He's going to be a kind of guy that could, in a first leadoff spot, let the pitcher, get him deep in a count, see everything that the pitcher is offering, and kind of set up the second, third batter in an inning, as you mentioned. And as far as Jimmy Paredes goes, I was listening on the radio to the home run, and boy, that thing was loud. It was a loud smack and a big time home run there for Paredes. But good to see Manny kind of having a great approach, and as you mentioned here in the show notes, it should lead to good things. I think it will if he continues to do that.
And as part of one of your highlights tonight was Caleb Joseph. He had a great job at the plate tonight. Good plate approach. This is coming after a game recently on Cinco de Mayo where he had 3 Ks. So he was really close to that golden sombrero on Cinco de Mayo. No one wants to have that golden sombrero on a Cinco de Mayo. But really impressive just in terms of plate approach. And like we talked about, he's absolutely demolishing the ball with a 907 OPS. Just amazing. I don't think we need to say anything more than thank God Caleb Joseph's on this team, because if we had to have Lionel Barnway at the plate all the time, bad things would be happening right now with this Orioles offense.
Yeah, and as everybody knows, I mean, Caleb Joseph was pretty close to not playing baseball anymore. He was very, very close to that happening. So I'm glad he stuck with it, because he's an essential piece of this team right now as Matt Wieters continues to get back, and the Orioles really see what they have in Matt Wieters. But loved his approaches to the bats tonight, Scott, especially on his home run. He let that ball travel pretty deep, and he got good barrel on it. He squared up on it and hit it out for a home run. So it's nice to see Caleb doing it.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about briefly too was, there's going to be a lot of people that, have an issue with the Jimmy Paredes play where he got thrown out at first base. And yeah, it was a boneheaded play. But, honestly, going back and looking at that play with the ground ball to the shortstop, I think that would have been a double play, unless Jones really hustles it out and beats it, which is a possibility.
Sure.
But I think the bigger issue for this game is, and it's been this way for the past few games, is, the Orioles are not able to have a sustained rally. We're relying on that home run ball, and it doesn't seem like balls are going opposite field or dropping the way that they should. The Orioles are hitting for a pretty decent amount of line drive percentage over the past 3 games, right around 18 to 20%. But their BABIP over the past 3 games has been right around 220 to 240. I just think it's, the worm has turned for a few games here. I think the offense is eventually going to break out of it, and it's going to break out of it big. But for right now, the BABIP luck dragon is basically not acting very fondly to the Baltimore Orioles hitters.
Yeah, it's the dragon's breathing fire on the Orioles right now.
Yes, exactly.
We saw some hints of it last Sunday against the Rays.
Yep.
With a couple timely hits, and they kind of strung together a few hits there and got back into the game and took the lead eventually. But I was worried about that Mets series, just being shut down by a really, really good pitching staff, and that's exactly what's happened. And, it kind of carried into tonight. As I mentioned earlier on, the Orioles weren't terrible, but it just seemed like they couldn't get that extra hit that maybe would have knocked out Nathan Eovaldi from this ball game, because he was certainly close to getting knocked out.
We don't want to talk about the Mets series because, honestly, Patrick Guthrie next week on the BSR podcast is going to be talking plenty about the Mets series. So we don't want to talk about it any more than we have to at this time being. But what I really like to talk about is the defense. And what the heck is going on? Is Delvin Young actually playing good defense? I mean, he robbed A-Rod of the homer. He showed a nice arm in the field, and there was a ton of balls peppered out there into right field. So what the heck is going on here? Is Delvin Young actually a serviceable right fielder?
I think so. I think it's very possible, because we didn't see much from Travis Snyder earlier this season. I think that experiment has sailed. But fantastic play, robbing A-Rod of the home run, and then showing that nice arm in the outfield later to get the ball back in, kind of help things as well. So if he can continue to do that, he's going to find himself in the field more, as Buck's going to probably need his bat now.
Totally agree. And the other thing that was interesting tonight again was J.J. Hardy made the return back to the Baltimore Orioles. First game with the Orioles since his rehab assignment. And, it was a kind of a calm quietness with the defense in the middle. And as a fan, I watched that game and I felt a little bit more secure than Everett Cabrera being, there in the defense. I'm not saying Everett Cabrera was terrible as a shortstop, but it just I felt more comfortable. It was really interesting, too, the play that Steve Pearce made with the diving play to his left in order to get that play during the 4th inning. I think that was really set up strongly by Hardy to, basically position him in a certain aspect and say, I'm okay being here behind second base. You move a little bit closer to the first baseline so that if a ball goes between you and Davis, you can get it. And, Steve Pearce, to his credit, showed some pretty decent range out there at second base as well.
Yeah, he had a nice diving play late in the game, as you mentioned here in the show notes, in the 4th inning, preventing a run from scoring. Hardy's a Gold Glover, so he's going to know where to position himself. He's going to know where to position these other players, and overall, it just makes the defense stronger up the middle. And hopefully, at some point, we'll get Jonathan Scope back to have the full infield intact.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just hope that Jonathan Scope can get back here sooner rather than later. Jabby Burns and I have a bet going on when he went out that it was going to be over and under on 6 weeks. I took the over. Jabby, as the degenerate that he is, took the under. I think I'm going to win that bet pretty easily. So, Jabby, you might want to buy that 6-pack of beer sooner rather than later. Let's go.
I think he owes Pat actually some beer too from that Met series as well. So
I'm telling you, he is just throwing money away right now, left and right, left and right.
Yeah.
Let's go back to pitching. Let's talk about Tillman. Major command issues tonight. Higher walks, also leaving a lot of balls right in the middle of the plate, allowing those line drives to be hit to right field. Lots of issues with pushing the count multiple times. Matt, what do you think the issue was here? Do you just think it was, just a poor game on him, or did you see anything else that you want to talk about?
I mean, his season so far is a bit worrisome. He's had a couple starts where he's given up an earned run, but then there's been other ones where he's given up 7, 6. And I think that sort of contributes to him maybe just being too fine with his pitching at times. I don't know if you can necessarily say it's the same thing, but at times I just feel like he's getting too careful, too finite, trying to pinpoint a little bit too much, and it sort of reminds me of when Jake Arrieta was here, a guy that has immense talent that can do it. We know that he can do it. I think sometimes he just gets a little bit too fine with his pitching. I won't say cute or anything like that, but just instead of just attacking hitters, he tries to be too finite, I think.
All right, so I've got an idea here. So we've got this great prospect that's currently sitting in the bullpen, and he's only pitched for 2 innings over the past 2 weeks, and it's such a waste to have him out there.
Yeah, who's that?
Yeah, what if we trade Chris Tillman, since, he's got this Jake Arrieta disease, to the Cubs for Chris Bryant? I think this would be a great trade and completely realistic.
I would take Chris Bryant a heartbeat, because then we get to see his first major league home run at some point, right?
There you go, exactly. And he'll be the switch hitting Jesus that Matt Wieters was supposed to be, basically.
That's right. Exactly. But yeah, in terms of Gausman, though, Scott, I just don't understand what the point is right now. What's the issue here? I understand having him on the major league roster. I know you want to have him on the roster because he deserves to be here, but he's pitched 4 innings total since April 22nd.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if they just want him to maybe work on that third pitch, iron it out in the bullpen. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, Scott.
Yeah, there's 2 pitchers right now that interest me in Norfolk right now. TJ McFarland, of course, is the obvious choice. And basically pull him out of the rotation that is currently in Norfolk, put Gausman back down there, have him work on his slider, curve, slurve, whatever you want to call it, and bring him up and basically keep McFarland up here until he gets comfortable. When Wesley Wright comes back, then you're in a situation where you've got another left-handed pitcher, and maybe you deal Mattis or Wesley Wright to get another prospect or anything of value. The other individual I think is interesting too, who's been doing really well lately in Norfolk, is Steve Johnson. And I know everyone wants Steve Johnson up here because he's the local boy and everyone wants to get him up here, but he's been pitching to a really impressive strikeout to walk ratio. The other issue too is there's reports out there that he has an opt-out date sometime in June. I don't know if he would opt out, but I really would like to see him added to the 40-man roster sooner rather than later, and see if he could make a difference rather than, leaving Kevin Gausman in that position and not really getting any value.
Sure. I think he kind of got behind the 8 ball a bit with his injury in spring training.
Sure.
Or before that, and kind of had to work his way back in. So that's understandable. But I think at some point he's going to help your bullpen. He's striking out a lot of batters and looks comfortable and he's healthy. It might be time to give him an opportunity here and kind of be a nice piece in the pen for the Orioles.
I'd like to see that invisible come up here and have him throw strikes at 89 miles per hour and see how he does.
Crafty,
exactly. And he's just my type. So bottom line takeaway from this tonight, Matt, what is it?
Well, get back on the winning track, Scott. I mean, 3 in a row. They look sluggish right now. So I think maybe a game where they can string some hits together like we've been wanting to see them do can go a long way maybe to getting on a winning streak. So, they got to get it turned around at some point.
I've got a feeling that there's going to be a pretty good clubhouse conversation tonight after the game. Adam Jones was pretty livid after that situation where Jimmy Paredes got thrown out, and whether he was livid with Paredes or himself, I think he was more just frustrated with the given situation with some of the boneheaded mistakes. I think Adam is going to rally that locker room around him and basically remind people how to play and really be the leader of that clubhouse that has kind of been missing since Markakis has left to a certain regard, and also Nelson Cruz being gone. I know Nelson was only here for 1 year, but Cruz was a big portion of that clubhouse chemistry and clubhouse leadership in mentoring players like Jonathan Scope and Manny Machado. So I think Jones is going to have a few words with people and just get them to, get back on track for the rest of the series. I still think the Orioles are in really good shape for the rest of the series, and I'm going to play the Rick Dempsey part and say I think the Orioles come back and win this game tomorrow night.
I tend to agree with you, especially with the guy that's going to be on the mound for us tomorrow night, who is a Yankee killer in his own right, Miguel Gonzalez.
Yeah.
I think Jones will keep it light. He keeps that locker room light, and he'll put forth the point that, remember, guys, we're the AL East champs here. Let's go out and set the tone and play good baseball. I think you'll see that happen.
Sure, and the Orioles are going to go against Adam Warren. He's a ground ball pitcher with a nice slider/curve performance. So the Orioles are going to see a lot of breaking balls tomorrow night. So they're going to need to wait for those breaking balls, and they're going to need to protect the plate. They're not going to have to be aggressive on first pitch or second pitch, but they're going to have to wait around on that second pitch, a second strike. And if it comes over the plate at all, they're going to have to hack and foul off and basically try to work the count in order to get through this game. Line drives are going to be critical, and that's something that the Orioles really have been doing great as of lately. But stringing together a bunch of line drives in order to get a sustained inning is something that this team eventually is going to have to break out of. And tomorrow night is going to be the only way they can do that to get a win, I think.
Yeah, they're going to be tested tomorrow with this guy who's going to feed him a steady dose of off-speed stuff, a lot of junk. And this is what Scott Coolbaugh preaches. I mean, he wants these guys to be more patient at the plate. Tomorrow night's going to be a good example of where the Orioles are right now on May 6th in terms of being able to take pitches and make Adam Warren work to get the results that you want to see.
All right, well, that's all we have tonight for the BSR Postgame show. Matt, is there anything going on currently with the BSR podcast this week that you wanted to plug?
We had the reopening day guys on, Sam and Andrew, that you spoke with earlier in the week. Great guys. Just talking to them about what reopening day is and kind of getting the excitement, capturing all that from Monday. So hopefully everybody will be down there and join us as the Orioles come home for the first time in a while.
Yep, and the other thing I wanted to mention too is tomorrow at 4:00 on 105.7 The Fan, Zach Wilt of Baltimore Sports Report will be on Scott Scarso and Jeremy Kahn's show. So that'll be on 4:00. So tune in to 105.7 The Fan at 4:00 to listen to Zach Wilt preach the wonderfulness of Orioles baseball.
That's right.
With that, we're going to pop out of here. Everyone, enjoy your night, and let's go O's.